What's goody to the guys, what's popping to the people. And we in it. Another episode of the Gator Pit. And shouts out to my dude, Keandre. Y'all see I got my sweatsuit from Keandre. Go out there and support your local black businesses today. You know, anybody you know that's got something for sale. Something they advertising, if you can help out with advertisement, any type of way that you can participate in supporting a local black entrepreneur, I advise that you do so, because that's the only way we're going to build wealth is if we help each other out. So with that being said, we're going to get right into it. I got a good one for y'all tonight. I got a good one, baby. We're going to go knee deep. And a lot of people scared to touch this topic, and I know why, but we touching all topics, baby. We're not going to do it over here, so either way it go. Everybody's all up in an uproar over, what's the brother name? I think it's Billy Porter from the Oscars. My man, the tuxedo dress, digger barber, whatever that thing was. So yeah, I had a real interesting discussion, and you know I never put names on it, but I had a real interesting discussion with someone who took the stance that there is no homosexual agenda in relation to black people, and that it's just a day and time, an era, and when people are just a lot more open-minded. And that is why you see the over-influx of homosexuality and stuff like that. Now, first of all, we're not going to make this about homosexuality, so get that out your head. But what we are going to do is deal with it. So today, this is more or less about the term that I keep hearing, battle of the sexes. And then they're saying that there's a divide between the black man and the black woman. There's a sexist battle between, within our culture. And we'll deal with that. So this is the Battle of the Sexes episode. But we're going to take an in-depth look at a key factor, that being homosexuality, and ask ourselves the question: is homosexuality being used as a pawn in this whole thing? And where does that place in the larger scheme of things? So, there you go. Let's get it. Let's have at it. And I know any same-sex supporters or the LGBT community may take indifference with some of the things that I say today. Well, that's just the way it happens sometimes. What I do always offer in all my lectures, and I won't make this one any different, I put the information out there. You prove it to be inaccurate, and we deal with it. Until then, it is what it is, my friend. I mean, and let's just do that. This will be my disclaimer. All things, this is my, I'm start doing that. Next time y'all see it, actually it might be before I'll probably throw it in there. It's going to be this little disclaimer right here from now on. Y'all going to see that. All things stated in viewpoints on this channel are merely my viewpoints and my findings. I try not to use the word fact. Sometimes it slips out just because this language kind of sucks and you're limited. Speaking of language, I'll do that in a second. Anyway, so I try not to use the word fact too much just because Fact is whatever you find it to be. So I lay it out how I see it, how I think it, how I believe it to be, and then I let you all play with it. I prefer for you to go look into it and see what you come up with anyway. I want you to draw your own conclusions. I'm just giving you a springboard to work out. Excuse me, a springboard to work off of. Now you might dive into one of my topics and say, "Oh, okay, I like how you did that," or you might dive in and say, "No, I didn't like that," and then leave me a comment or let's have at it. I'm not one of those dudes that feel like their information should be challenged. I always think that's a weird stance to take. Like, it's information. That's what we're here for. Let's do it. Let's rumble. Figuratively speaking, that is. But either way it goes. So, dealing with the whole spectrum thing, I'm just checking it out because I've been firing y'all up lately. I got notes, baby. That's when I'm dangerous. 90% of the time I freestyle this thing, which I'm gonna do anyway. But I find that since I just be kicking it with y'all, so I look up, the time be gone, and I be not even touch stuff I want to touch. So therefore, I got organization going on. Just so y'all thought a brother didn't have his thing together. I know how y'all be thinking sometimes. Don't play me. This is call me Professor Gator. This is class when I'm up here. This is college level stuff I'm kicking to you brothers and sisters, queens and kings, gods and goddesses. So either way it goes, let's get back to it. Now, first and foremost, let's do this. And then when I had these discussions, it's like what always is the weirdest thing is like you could hear this. There we go. Yeah. Now, you could just hear through some of the statements made the level of studying that gets done by certain individuals. And I understand scholarly wise, I still got a long way to go. I'm not even saying it like that. I'm definitely above average though. So I can tell average thought process going into a discussion, and sometimes that's the hardest person to talk to because they hate to say, okay, I missed something or that could be inaccurate. It's all about being right to them. So when you tell me, now, first of all, a disclaimer for this video. I have no qualm, homosexual or not, gay or lesbian or straight or any of these terms that are used, because quite frankly, I think they're just terms and they're stupid and they make people argue. Realistically, am I homosexual? No. Do I care? Not really. Like, doesn't affect me one way or the other who you decide to love or like or fondle or whatever it is that people do. But what it does bother me is that whenever anyone is doing becomes to affect my people or my children negatively. And I think in a lot of cases, what I consider to be a push for a homosexual agenda, that I'm going to back up those statements, not just because of whatever you may think while you're listening. I'm going to back it up with a lot of information that you can, take and deal with and toss it around how you feel like. But one thing I do, me personally, when I get a hold of a topic, bro, I'm going in. I don't just like see people hear something that basically helps their argument or the thought process they had already, and then they find information that supports how they already felt. That's not research. I'm talking about lift the rock up. Go into dark corners that people tell you not to go into. Look into stuff they say don't touch that. Half of you people don't know nothing about the devil because you're scared of him. You know, and that was I just threw that out there. We fear things we don't understand. Just look into it. People tell you don't offend the LGBT community, so you Negroes shut up and get away from it. What if the community offended me? Figuratively speaking, I'm not offended by anybody, but I'm saying, why don't we have the right to address and discuss anything that can be a deterrent to empowerment and uplifting? If it is not empowering or it does not uplift, why should I not speak on it? If there are African American members of the LGBT community that believe in the struggles of the African American, then why the hell is there a separation? Rhetorical question. I'm going to answer all that. That was just, foundation, baby. Be cool. So, we're going to get into this. Now, check this out. Let's start from square one. This homosexual thing, the word itself. Y'all know me. I get on my etymology. So, we know what sexual means. Throw that away. Now, homo. Deal with it. Now, watch this. Watch this. For all of those, this right here, this is why I'm doing this. Real quick, this is why I'm doing this. I'm only doing this because I tell you all the time, y'all think you know something, then you go. You just speak without really digging into things. Most of the time, we regurgitate other people's thoughts. It's a free world. It's a free world. How can it ain't? Black folks ain't free. How is it a free world? Ain't none of us free, really, to be honest with you. So I ain't even gonna say that. We just the lesser of the free. None of us are free. This is all slavery. Yeah, you people crazy. But either way it go, you look at it like this right here. Break down these words and start looking into things and stop just believing. There is an agenda. There's been a sexual agenda since the day we got off the boat. Are you crazy? Stop saying stuff that you haven't looked into and then you get all huffy and puffy over a post and get in your chest over something you haven't even dug into. You speaking off your emotions because your brother's gay or your uncle used to whatever, your auntie's now your uncle or your uncle's now your aunt, and you feel like that they have the right, and none of that has anything to do with facts. Those are emotions. We're not going to deal with emotions. All right, now check this out. The homo, to where it is the offensive term, as you can see, that didn't start getting used to the 1920s. Let's go back a step. Now you look at right here, origins. It says Greek. What does it mean? Same. Relating to homosexual love. So this word has its original origins in Greek. What a coinky dink. Now, let's see what happens. Now, later on, the Latins take it up. And now, just so you know, Greek is the origin of Latin. Latin comes from Greek, is what I'm saying. It's a later language, but it derives from Greek and Roman areas. Now hold on, because I know a lot of y'all just always hold on. I mean, I ain't gonna play with y'all today. Okay. The Latin alphabet emerged from the Old Italic alphabets, which in turn derived from the Greek and Phoenician scripts. Historical Latin came from the prehistoric language of the Latinium region, specifically around the river Tiber, where Roman civilization first developed. Okay, there we go. So we don't have to deal with that. Now, back to the matter. So, Latin comes from Greek. As we just saw. So now, later on, after the Greeks pick it up, hold on one second. Let me get back to the matter here. Okay, give me 1 second, y'all. Okay, so now here we go. After the Greeks pick it up, after the Latins pick it up, my fault, y'all, it becomes this right here. Homo, genus of primates of which modern humans, Homo sapiens, are the present day representatives. So, now the Latins pick it up, and it becomes, let me scoot over so I can get in the frame with y'all. The Latins pick it up and it becomes Homo sapien. This is important. Just watch this, baby. Now, here's your Homo sapien. This is almost now. Look at that. Humans, primates, Homo sapien. So now, look at this. Neanderthal. Now, wait. Before we go any further, Neanderthal. Why dude look like Uncle Grady from Sanford and Son? That's like, okay. When I think about a Neanderthal, the original caveman, this is what they used to look like. Now, how I go from that right there to Uncle Grady? I'm gonna show you how. Look at this though. They show you how. Now, humans. It don't say, it say humans. I'm gonna tell you why they did that too. Watch this. Watch. Now, they got this lady looking like Aunt Esther. Then they got this dude looking like Uncle Grady. Then they go there. And then they just throw a monkey in the middle of there. They throw a monkey in the middle of there. Homo. Now look at this. Look at this. These people are truly amazing. Now look. Then they go to this skull. Then they say ancestor. Now this could be and one of y'all cousins right there. Then they go from him back to a monkey. Then there. So the original use of the word homo came from Greek, which it meant same, as in same sex, because historically we know the Greeks are heavily into male on male, whatever you want to call it. So anyway, now it changes from that to Homo sapien, which now used to be Fred Flintstone and somehow turned into a bunch of black people. And what is the point here? Well, first and foremost, before we go any further, the damn word that y'all so upset about don't even mean nothing in the first place, because they just keep changing it when they just change a word and make it mean what they want it to mean. So if you're somebody who is gay, or I'm not politically correct, just so you know. So if I screw up the terminology, don't y'all inbox me and start talking about y'all boycotting me from the LGBT community, because I don't know the proper terminology. I apologize in advance. But if you gay, or whatever the case may be, and somebody calls you a homo, you get offended. You get offended because it's a derogatory gay term, but you got no knowledge of the fact that it fits the bill because they calling you a monkey too. But that don't bother you. You don't mind being called a monkey, but don't let nobody mix up your sexuality. You see the problem here? This is why there's a separation. Because if you're going to make it more important of your sexual preference than the color of your skin, then those of us who are more concerned about the color of our skin, why should we care about your sexual preference? Whatever creative force decided you was going to be black before you decided you was going to like men. And that's as real as I can be. Either way, let's keep the ball rolling, because I'm about to prove a very, very, very stellar point. Now, this is what's the point. Watch this dude right here. You see this dude? Carl Linnaeus, however you pronounce it. Now, this dude is considered the father of taxonomy. Now, what's taxonomy? Taxonomy is the naming of species and categorizing different species with familiar traits. So, they created a science called taxonomy, and it is, like I said, it's how you characterize similar species. And then they got this fancy little word called binomial nomenclature. Y'all didn't think I knew stuff like that, did you? I told y'all I'll be fair, boy. Binomial nomenclature. Now, here's what that is. That is when you're categorizing two names of species, taking two names of species and putting them together. Binomial nomenclature. So, the science of taxonomy is the categorization of the species, and then the binomial nomenclature is naming the separate two species. They did all this just to tell your black ass you came from a monkey. Got a whole science charts and everything for it. And all of this derived off this homo word. But it ain't no agenda, huh? When y'all gonna get enough of letting people, excuse me, Granny. I told Granny I was gonna stop cussing because she said she'd be listening, and then she stopped when I cuss. So I won't say any cuss word right now. When will you stop letting people pee in the wind and tell you it's raining outside? There's a racial agenda. There's a sexual agenda. There's a homosexual agenda. There's a black agenda. There's a white agenda. If there's an agenda of any sort, I don't care what the word in front of it is. As long as the word agenda is behind it, They got one. How do you think you can control the world by controlling everything but sexuality? And we're a high-strung sexual world. So you think they control everything, but they just don't tamper with sex? Come on, man, stop it. Use your brain. I told you, the reason why y'all don't dig into this stuff because you're scared. You're scared to do anything other than what you like to do every day, which is probably nothing. Nothing substantial because you're not trying to help. So I don't care what you accomplish. I don't care if you got more money than me, fancy a car. You say, well, I have my rap career to make it. I don't care. I don't like rap no more. So I'm glad I didn't make it. Anything y'all got, none of that matters to me. Y'all look at me, y'all say, well, he's just trying to find a niche because rapping didn't work. I gave rap up. I wasn't not making it in rap. Go back and look at my career. I just stopped when I was on fire. Who does that? I wasn't getting rejected. I was flying people across country having meetings. I didn't want it. And a lot of other stuff I used to want that I really don't care about no more, that y'all probably wouldn't understand. I tell people I stopped eating meat, and they fascinated. You think a dummy does that? I didn't gradually stop. I put it down and never picked it up again. What filthy habit can you put down and never pick up again? Anyway, carry on. There's an agenda. Excuse me. And today we're going to very well take a shot at proving it. Now, I got something I want y'all to watch. It's short, but check this out.
So hey everybody, what's going on? It's your boy Takedown Man. And tonight we're going to talk about some things they don't teach you in the history class. This one's called buck breaking. The process of breaking the buck involves one of the most heinous and atrocious acts known to man. A slave who was defiant and may stir up trouble was beaten with a whip until bloody in front of his entire slave congregation. The slave owner, afraid of an uprising, would cut down a tree, and with the top and the help of the overseer, would then beat the defiant buck into submission. Once the slave was worn down, the master had the other slaves force that slave over a tree stump, where they were then laid naked and exposed. What came next caused fear and terror to ripple through every slave plantation across the South. The master would explain to all the other slaves that if they did not follow strict orders and comply with the whims of the overseers and the masters, this too would be their fate. The master would then remove his clothing and proceed to sodomize the slave in front of his wife, family, friends, and children. He would then invite his friends from other plantations to join in the raping festivals. In order for this plan to take effect, he would require the slave's children to watch, front row center, so they too could witness their parents' sexual demise and humiliation. Buck breaking was the slave's master's very effective tool to keep all slaves from ever being defiant and taking revenge. It also frightened the mothers and wives from ever giving consent to an uprising. Buck breaking was so successful that it was made into a sex farm where free men would travel from plantation to plantation, raping different slaves, from child to adult.
Okay, now y'all see that? Do you see how can anyone have knowledge of that and say that there's no sexual agenda? This is what was happening on the boat on the way here. So they were raping the men, sodomizing the men on the way here. And then they tell you that they did it once they got here in front of their children. First of all, after you beat me with a tree branch or a whip or whatever the case may be until I'm bloody and can barely move, there's not anything in me that wants to rebel anymore. I can't move. So when you hear them explaining the sodomy was to humiliate them, you're already humiliated. So why does that take place? Because there's a sick, twisted people in charge with a sexual agenda. Duh. Let's start thinking, y'all. You're trying to enter a competition in which you are 200 years behind. And all you want to do is play frickin' Xbox? Let's think. There's definitely a damn sexual agenda. Y'all just seen it buck breaking. Now here's the other level of it. What you have to think about. See, when you're learning things and you're getting information, it's not the teacher's job to tell you every single nook and cranny. What their job is to do is to put you in a place where you can start digging for yourself. So when I see something like that, my common sense button kick in. Okay, if you've taken this raping the male slaves and turned it into a business for homosexuals, and we also know that this culture is rooted deep in pedophilia. So then we have to assume a lot of the slaves that's at these little play places for these rich, sick white dudes, some of them are gonna be boys and young men and teenage boys and stuff. Common sense. So here's another common sense thing. If you're raping slave men in front of their children, how long does it take the little boy to figure out, let me be a little more inviting so that I don't have to endure that? This is common sense. So what you're doing when you rape the man in front of his child, you're creating a future relationship between you and the child. Because the child ain't no dummy. I'm not going to go through that. So if I let Master know it's okay with me, I won't have to be like that. So you could imagine a lot of those play places, you probably had so many effeminized young little black boys just trying to be all right. And you really honestly believe that mentality didn't carry over into society, then you're a freaking idiot. And I only say freaking because of my granny. I want to say something else. Of course it did. But don't take my word for it. Once again, I'm going to prove my point. Because it seems like until somebody is in your face with something that you just can't turn from, that's the only time you start to listen. So here we go again. You gotta think about who you're dealing with and what's the angle. If I tell you all the time that this is a Greco-Roman society, and I've proven it in plenty of lectures before, that this society is Greco-Roman, controlled by such, then you will know. If this is a Greco-Roman society, and we know that those societies are heavy in homosexuality and pedophilia, then why would you think that that agenda wouldn't be pushed? Of course it would. And if you all watch the videos where I show you hidden in plain sight, then you would understand predictive programming and know that most of the things that we do and are come from the television. Where do you get your dress code from? Where do you get your ideologies from? Where do you get your thought process from? If you're a young black male, most of your ideologies come from sports figures or rap music. Nothing is absolute. I said most. Of course, you got whatever. Now, with that being said, if most of your ideologies come from sports figures and rap music, and a young lady's television, period. How do you know what to dress? Your dress code is a composite of your favorite people. And you just put your own spin on it. You didn't create no style. Who's your favorite musician? More than likely, whoever your homies like the most. So therefore, if I'm smart enough to figure out that almost every American, you can't name me who. You don't know what to wear if you don't watch TV. Nobody wants to walk outside looking like an idiot. We live in a society where you're quickly judged. So to walk outside in fashion 5 years outdated, but you just brought it, it's not going to be a fun day for you. So what do? You take a peek online or in a video or wherever, find out what's the latest fashion. You take a mosh posh of these different fashions, throw your own little spin on it and say, hey, I'm original. No, you seen it on TV. We all did. No exceptions. So what is your thought process? Whatever you got from TV or music, that's what we think. Your favorite musician. Your favorite musician is darn near your dad or your mom. Think about it. Whatever thoughts they hold dear so do you, or they wouldn't be your favorite musician. So with that being said, yes, there's predictive programming. And it's in all walks of life, especially in music, movies, and sports. They hit us heavy. Now watch this. For all of y'all who say that there is no homosexual agenda in Hollywood, let's see what Brother Dave Chappelle has to say about that. Now, Dave Chappelle went on Oprah, and I firmly believe that this is the interview that got him in trouble. There's two interviews, in my opinion. There was this interview, and he did an interview in the actor's chair or the actor's studio, I believe it is. Either way. Well, I'll just let y'all, if you haven't seen it, check it out. Here it goes.
I mean, I'm a conspiracy theorist to a degree. Like, when I connect dots that maybe shouldn't be connected, I don't know. But certain dots, like when I see that they put every black man in the movies in a dress at some point in their career, I'll be connecting them down like, wow, all these brothers gotta wear a dress. This happened to me. I'm doing a movie with Martin.
Yeah.
The movie's going good. So I walk in the trailer. I'm like, man, this must be the wrong trailer because there's a dress in here. They come in. It's the writer comes in. I think he's the writer. He's like, Dave, listen, we got this hilarious scene where Martin's sneaking out of jail. So he disguises you as a prostitute. And he put this dress on. And, what? A prostitute? Nah, I'm not doing that. I don't feel comfortable with that. That should have been in the discussion. What? You don't feel comfortable with it? I mean, It's a hilarious bit. All the greats have done it. So, well, if all the greats have done it, it's kind of hacky, right? You're right. So why don't we just not do it? Because I don't feel comfortable wearing a dress. Oh, come on, Dave, listen, we got it all set up. We're supposed to shoot. Every minute you waste costs this much money. You know, the pressure comes in. Huh. He said, I'm not wearing no dress, man. I'm funnier than a dress. Just give me something funny to say. I don't even wear no dress to be funny. What am I, Milton Berle? You know, we're going like this. And then finally he's like, and he leaves. And then, like, the director comes, Dave, it really would be great if you wear the dress. What is wrong? What is this, Brokeback Mountain in here? So then, wear the dress. I don't want to wear the dress. I want to wear this dress. You know what I mean? This is, oh, gosh, this guy's so difficult. They leave. Now the producers comes, come on, David, would be so great. I mean, and then I started thinking about it. All the comics that I've seen, man, you know, strong brothers, why they be putting us in these dresses? But the minute it was clear, I was adamant, I'm not wearing a dress. I'm not wearing the dress. All right, fine. Think of something else. Guy comes back 10 minutes later, the whole new scene. Hot damn, how did you write the scene so fast? You know, it's like, so you gotta take a stand.
The man said after he finally was adamant that he wasn't gonna do it, they came back in 10 minutes flat with a whole new scene. They had the damn scene already. That's called an agenda. Look at this. Look at all these brothers in these dresses, man. Wesley Snipes. That's my favorite actor. They got Wesley Snipes. Blade. Mr. Cut your head off and do a backflip is in a dress. They turned one of the greatest comedians ever into a fat black woman. No, take that back. They turned one of the greatest comedians ever into a fat black grandma. They turned the greatest comedian ever, probably, into a fat, feisty project chick. They even, I mean, you know, we don't talk about Richard, but they even had Richard in the dress. They put Richard in the dress quick. JoJo dancing. I mean, just like Dave said, why the brothers got to throw a dress on? They just showed you in the butt breaking video, emasculating. And it don't just stop there. Look at your rappers. Look at the rappers. They got Lil Uzi in a choker, a spiked choker. And you don't think this the pants got tighter. The hair got longer. Look. Who's in charge of these things? Not black people. Y'all get that out your head. The hip-hop industry is not ran by African Americans, black folks, whatever you want. No, it's not. Y'all keep thinking it's black music. There are no black people in control of it. The blackest thing about hip-hop music is your black butt paying for it and listening to it and becoming a product of it. That's it. The inner workings of it is all European. Let that sink in. Now, furthermore, you got to use your brain. Of course, there's an agenda. Here's logic. Let's take all the emotion out of it. Let's take the videos out of it. Let's take the opinions out of it. Let's use some factual things. If two men have unprotected sex with each other, can one of them accidentally get pregnant? Okay. Anybody knows this? Can two lesbian women create a child? No. Not with each other. Now, with this being said, if you're attacking a race and you can't, and that race can't reproduce, that is called population control, which anybody who is even the slightest bit knowledgeable understands that this government has been after population control for quite some time. So, you do yourself some justice right there, because babies can't be made out of that situation. Now, here's the other thing. Let's talk about what natural. Natural. The root word of natural is nature. Now, as far as nature goes, if two men are together, then there's no woman. In that equation, then somewhere a woman got left out, and vice versa. Now, scientifically speaking, a man's private part goes outward. A woman's private part goes inward. This is the design of the Creator. It fits. That is called natural. That's nature. That is the design. So people, this is the argument what people say about being born gay. That is impossible, because you were not designed like that. So whatever happens past that point is a learned thing. I have a 3-year-old child. He doesn't care about girl or boy. He just do him. You see, he got a wee-wee. He don't pay no attention. He don't care. There's no understanding of I'm different than a little girl. He don't know. But he understands that sometimes when I ask for a kiss, he may say no, he may not. But if he does, it's a quick thing and he gets it over with. But now he'll run up to his mom and shower her with kisses all over the face. Now I know what y'all thinking. That don't prove nothing. He just attracted to it. No. You have to see my household. Hands down, we talking about a daddy's boy. He's daddy crazy. Leave his mom in a heartbeat to come sit with his pops. Anybody for that matter. He don't care who you are. If I walk in the room, you're dead meat. He's leaving. The man could have been breastfeeding. If I walk in the room, he's going to leave the breast. That's the type of relationship we have. But he understands the difference. It's embedded within us because it is the nature of the creation. You all keep taking out the part of we're a creation. We didn't just happen. That's what that monkey chart wants you to think. We're some just happened thing and we evolved. No, we were a creation. We were an upgrade from whatever the last creation was. I don't know. So think about things before you say them. Now, does that mean homosexuality is wrong? Do what you feel. But if what you feel makes you deny who you are, then I say there's a problem. A man doesn't have to dress like a woman or like another man, just like dude. Why start to parading yourself around and switching the energies and things like that? That's a construct. That's a design. You wouldn't know anything about getting rid of your gender had you not seen programs about it. You wouldn't know anything about walking outside wearing a dress as a man had you not seen someone else do it. Like who you want to like. Understand what you're up against. There is a thing going on. And the fact that you don't understand it is being used against you. So for the LGBT community, you've been victimized just like everybody else. But because you're reaping the benefits of a fixed fight, you somehow think you're a better boxer. No, the fight's just fixed. That's how that works. Now, what we have to understand is this. You could be LB whatever you want to be. You be black. And they proven that with the Jesse dude from, I don't know his name because I don't watch Empire. I've never seen one episode. But that dude. So, no one is exempt. This is a system. And they're going to work it the way they see fit. Your job is to find out what's going on and stay ahead of the curve, baby. And now, we're going to move forward because, like I said, this wasn't all about homosexuality thing. This is about war of the sexes. Or is there one? So, now this is getting to the point. Now, if you look at how this affects the black woman, you have to look at, from the buck breaking standpoint, back during that time, it had to be absolutely horrific and traumatizing. But if you fast forward nowadays and you looking at the feminization, or what I call it, that you see all over television, then I read on Facebook and social media devices and all over the place the how displeased the black woman is, feeling like that the male is becoming too feminine. You hear this all the time. I do personally in my own walks of life. But now, there's two sides to this. They didn't just go to work on the men and push that agenda. On the backside, you see the same thing with the women, and they started that first. You will see women couples all over the place, homosexuality, women, but what they did, and this is how they do it. They make it the trending thing. So first, they came with the whole pushing the threesome thing with guys. So there was a period I remember where every guy wanted to have a threesome, and that got pushed through the rap music and in movies, and then everybody wanted to try that. Okay, well, in order to accomplish that, you got to put the girls together. And now, what happens is, after the threesome aspect of it is over, hey, the girls have discovered something else that they enjoy. Now, you may find out, you go over, Shay house to go see what's popping on a surprise visit. Homegirl that you took over there last week over there too. You know what I mean? It's like that thing started happening. So, and it got to the point where when I was doing the club thing real heavy, I had a couple times where I stepped to a sister or something like that. We'd be sitting back communicating. Her girl come up, give me a dirty look and snatch her up and be like, ready to get into it with me. And it's like, once again, do what you want to do. But you must understand, nothing is controlled by us. So if you see it on TV, there's a purpose. You think that you just seeing all these same-sex relationships on television because the world is free. No, the world is a construct that is controlled. So the reason why people are becoming more liberal about sexuality is because the powers that be want everybody liberal about sexuality, because then they can have it all over the place. Once you start taking the attitude, I don't care what people do what you want to do, that opens the door for bestiality and pedophilia and all kind of stuff. Look at the world we live in now, because we're so quick to say, But now, they work a number on the sisters too, because you got to look at the historically. Okay, let's go to the family structure was strong, way stronger than they want you to think in the 1900s. Black folks was doing a lot better than they want you to think. We starting to get our bearings back, get an understanding of what's going on. You had a strong black inner family structure all the way up until the 60s. Now, understand that, and it's going to seem like I'm getting off the bar for a minute, but trust me, I'll be back. Now, it's going to seem like you got this is what I was going to say. Okay, the way they got you thinking, like when you think about welfare, you think about black people. Welfare started in the 1920s, and it was not for black people. It was for poor white people. And it stayed that way all through the 40s and 50s. It didn't start really becoming something that black folks participated in until the 60s. I'm going to tell you why. Because there was no need civil rights. There was no need because we had a strong family structure. We were building an economy and starting to get it together. The Dr. King, who y'all love so much, came along with the civil rights movement. And what you did was, first, it took a blow to the black community. And once it took a blow to the black community, now, once it hurt us financially, because you had all of those black businesses, seemingly overnight closing because of integration, and now we're spending our money outside of the black community. So you have businesses closing overnight, and that's when you see this thing that you see now, where they start formulating the ghettos. The real bad ghettos that start happening as a result of this, because you're going to see the workings of gentrification later on and all that stuff kick in. This is a system that they set up. So now, here's what they do. Now you got the 60s. And black economics is starting to spiral downward. Integration. Now, for man can't feed his family, that is when you see what you see now. You see, when you think of thugs and crime and gangs, the first thing you think is the African Americans. We came off the slave ship. We know about crime and drugs and dope and all. It's not our thing. We picking up where the Italians left off, because now you don't got nothing. So now this, not to say before that, of course, because you had Bumpy Johnson, there was black people in the underworld before the 60s. I'm not saying that, but it wasn't like what you see now. You still had a ton of working class black folks, homeowners, business owners that had it together. Now, once the influx of crime hits, because a brother trying to feed their family, this is when you start to see some cracks in the black home structure, because man's to spend a little bit more time out in the street trying to make something happen, can't spend as much time in the house with his family. Now, fast forward to the 70s, and you got the Black Panther type of movements going into the 80s. You had an attempt at rebuilding black pride and economics, is what really the 70s coming into the 80s was all about. So now, as you see, they threw the heroin epidemic at us real heavy, and we bounced back. The segregation thing threw us for a loop. We starting to bounce back with the black pride thing. and what the 70s brought. And then you did have a lot of underworld stuff, but you had a lot of underworld guys that came organized with black power leaders and said, okay, well, we doing what we doing, but we still got a sense of who we are, and we gonna have a bit of a structure. Now the powers that be see this. So what happens in the 80s? Fact. Now I said, what does all this have to do with the topic? Stay tuned. Because we know crack is a government construct. For those of y'all who don't know, crack cocaine was created by the CIA, funded into the ghettos for the purpose of war. I explained this in another video already, so I'm not going to go into it. But if crack cocaine was designed for the black community and purposely fed into the black community, then what you have is the equivalent of an atomic bomb just being dropped into your entire society. Now what do you think crack cocaine did for black relationships and families? Ripped families to shreds. And then they came up with a plan. But wait a minute. Before I even go to that, let's rewind the tape a little bit because I left something out. When I was speaking about the 60s and the civil rights thing and the down spiral of black economics would lead, some African Americans to, to turn to crime. Then you seen African Americans jump into the welfare game. And once we jumped in, they created the no man in the house rule. This is when it became a situation where if someone else is found in the house where you're getting benefits, you lose your benefits. So you had welfare from the 1920s all the way up to the 60s and predominantly benefiting white Europeans. No big deal. When the 60s hit and the African Americans started to need it, that's when they switched the policy and say if you're a man in the house with you, you lose your benefits. Forgot that. That's important. So now, from the 60s on up, moving into the 70s as we just did, we trying to revolutionize, and our man ain't even allowed in the house. So the sisters really had to be strong and carry a heavy burden. Now, back to the 80s. President Reagan, CIA, Iran-Contra scam. They ran cocaine, funneled it through the ghettos to fund the war. Rip black folks. You can't. If anybody knows anything about crack cocaine, you can't have no home structure with that that switched the whole black community. And then what I tell you, the tail light vision is the number one tool. So you got the government buying the drugs, manufacturing them, and then shipping them into the black communities all around the country. And then taking the media, sending the media to watch as the people are diminished, falling asleep, drug epidemics, shooting, killing, drug wars, all of this. And then he creates a war on drugs. The very same drugs that he manufactured and created and sent it to the ghetto, he now creates a war on it and blasts it up. You couldn't turn on the television anywhere and not see. The Just Say No campaign. This is what ripped your black relationships to pieces. An agenda. And they have always used homosexuality because this is a multifaceted plan. If you make the black man and the black, see the trial and error helps everything. If you make the black man and the black woman discontent with each other, they've seen through process. That only can last so long before we figure it out, get over our differences as a collective. Now, you had to throw something else in there. You need another deterrent. Okay, it's one thing for the black man and the black woman to try to get themselves together, but not if the woman starts liking a woman and the man starts liking a man. You've just created a gap that can't be bridged. Once again, it's not about who you like. This is about there is a war being waged on us. What is the best way to defend ourselves? If we can't reproduce more soldiers, we can't fight. If we can't create young geniuses to help run this future that they've ruined, we shall remain powerless. We need to understand what we are up against, and we never seem to. Now as you're moving through the 80s and you're dealing with the crack epidemic, what did you do? You had gangster rap kick in. Think about it. It wasn't like that at first. We used to listen to BDP and you know, X-Clan, Poor Righteous Teachers. We had a lot of positive stuff that was about black empowerment. Then NWA came and it was F the police, sell some dope, smoke some weed, drink a 40. And that is the rap form that went to the forefront. The positive stuff fell by the wayside, and that type of music took over. Why? Because the lyrics say, F a B, F a B. I just want her to give me some brain. I just want nothing about love. The love songs was lust filled. Now, people who know me gonna be like, I can't believe dude saying this. Man, I'm so guilty, it's ridiculous. I'm not speaking from a point of innocence. I'm knee deep in it. This is why I gotta talk about it, because I'm guilty. I've been to the bottom of the bottom. And I ain't 100% reformed. I'm not kicking that type of speech. I'm just telling you what's going on. Don't look at me and say, well, he do this and he do that, so I ain't gonna listen. That'll be your dumb fault. Just because I did wrong don't mean I am wrong. Maybe I'm just smart enough to tell you don't do it. That happens. My mama told me not to do stuff before that I knew she do. That didn't make me want to do it. That made me listen to my mama because she had experience. Sometimes the way y'all brain works is amazing, man. Anyway, back on subject. Now, I only brought up the gangster rap thing because of this. If you don't push crack into the ghetto, and then you don't put it into the movies and the music, how else? Now look, let me show you what the 90s did. Let me show you what the 90s was all about. Look at that. And this is what kicked it off. You had colors. Now look at the cover. Look at the cover. You got two white cops standing above a bunch of black and brown young men. That's the art. That's the art. Now, if you looked at the movie, it was simply horrible. And not meaning that it was a bad movie. I mean, most people, it was just so rough. It took you into the streets and gave you a whole... Now, here's the thing. What do you think happened after that movie? The streets ran red with blood. Of little black and brown babies. So much drugs got pushed and so many little kids got murdered after this. And that was what it was intended to do. Now, that was your 80s. And then the 90s. Who didn't love Kane and O-Dog? And why did we love Old Dog? He was a psychopath, bro. I look back at it now. I went back and watched it again. Old Dog was a psychopath. I wouldn't even want to be. I used to think like, man, I hang with Old Dog. Now I wouldn't want to be nowhere near. He was so unstable. I wouldn't want to be nowhere near nobody like Old Dog. And where did we get this culture from? It's not ours. This is the Italian mafia culture. They had the inner cities before us. We went in and became that as a process of the gentrification program. Now, let's look what else we got. Uh-oh. Who didn't love Trey and Doughboy? But what was going on? Murder, drug dealing. I mean, if it wasn't for Lawrence Fishburne trying to kick some positivity, like he was the highlight of the movie. But when you look at these movies pushed an agenda. These directors, these are Hollywood movies. We see John Singleton, oh, that's a brother. John Singleton is one of them. You don't get there unless you're one of them. At least not in that point in time. So we have to understand movies come out. Now all this stuff happened. Why put out Clockers, Boys in the Hood, and Menace to Society and all in the 90s? And there's a whole bunch of other ones Now, statistically speaking, I bet if you looked at the murder rate after each one of those movies in those prospective areas probably went through the roof. And this is why they did it. Because what comes next? Now, all of these movies got heavy hip-hop soundtracks from whatever the latest hip-hop artist was, spitting lyrics that coincide with what you see on those movies. And since we already established we get our identity from them, then what did we become? Whatever was on those movies and whatever they rapped about. What's the point? At this point, private prisons went into the business with the rap and record industry. They had a meeting. Now, the two piggyback off of each other. So it became the rap industry's job to keep the private prisons filled. And as long as the private prisons are filled with little wannabe rappers and gangbangers, guess what? Your child has no dad and your girl has no guy. There's no husband, there's no wife, there's no relationship. There's a broken home, single parent, one woman and a child. Now, what happens? Whenever he get out, he can't come home. Or you run the risk of getting put out and losing benefits. So half the time, brother, get out and run the streets because it's safer that way. Now, what else takes place? All while you incapable of helping your woman and your child, the government gonna send her a check every month. So who does she identify with that's helping her? The government, not your black butt. You in prison asking her to send you some money. She on the outside with your child and all your bills. And the only thing she can really count on is that check from the government or the check from her job. Those are all European people. So, you think this helps black relationships? Now, I just showed you from the beginning all the way up until this point how this was a design. Watch this. Wow. Watch what Kevin Hart say right here.
Dave Chappelle, another great comedian, said that, in the industry, they tried to make him wear a dress. Have you ever ran into that with scripts? And is that something that, you wouldn't do, for
I definitely haven't ran into to put on the dress. I mean, you have to have boundaries. You have to have limits that you refuse to cross. For me, I know what they are. They've yet to been challenged, so I don't have to speak on them. I was asked to dribble a basketball on a talk show this morning.
You
said
look
no
good
to that. Not that was a dress, but I was like, no, I'm gonna look stupid. At the end of the day, you got to know that you're a brand. I'm a brand. You need to protect your brand at all times. When things happen that can possibly affect your brand, your brand can be diminished, and you don't want that to happen. So, protecting my brand is definitely a priority.
Appears as if Pope Conventionate is about to speak.
Key homonym.
Amazing. He showed you to put that damn dress on after the long speech and everything. Why did he put it on? After a man just sat there right in front of the camera and told you there's certain lines that he's not going to cross. 1 year later, he's in a dress. Why? He was already rich at that point. And look at the crap they make our kids watch. Y'all see that? You know Bugs Bunny was a boy, right? Because there's an agenda. As long as you keep saying it ain't, then at best you're helping it. Stop saying things you don't understand. Stop being afraid to stand up for yourself. And stop, I repeat, stop being scared to get your butt up and dig into things on your own. Most people have a motive. How's somebody else going to tell you what this world is about? Then the only thing you ever pass down to your children is what somebody else told you? Nothing you figured out on your own. And what will you pass down to your children? How to play video games or sell crack or whatever? Of course not. All of us want our children to be the best them they could possibly be. But what you going to offer? All you going to do is tell them go to college? You don't even know nothing about college. Do your own research. Just stop being lazy. That's all I ask. You don't have to have all the answers because I don't. But you have to want them. You know? I'm going to tell you like this. Belief is the enemy of knowledge. You know why? Because knowledge is the only true power. Information is the only real currency. Always remember that. I love y'all. I'm gone.